Hello everyone and welcome to Sharp Dress Gaming, and today we're back with some more PGL Pokemon Global League. This is of course a draft style battle league where you draft a team of, I believe in this league, it's 11 Pokemon, and then you take that team of Pokemon up against somebody else's team, so you're able to counter team each other. You decide what Pokemon and sets you want to bring according to what your opponent has. So it makes for a different kind of battle style. So today we're on week 2. And we were up against Young Sketch, Young Flex, Sketchy Smeargle himself, the coach of the Seattle Smeargles. And I will read off both teams for you because I did not do a draft recap, so the entirety of my team I will read off every time. Sorry if that's annoying to you guys. I'll do it quick. I'm not going to go through everyone and analyze them. But that being said, I'm already I'm just talking about random stuff. So let's go. So I got Mega Venusaur, Tyranitar, Rotom Wash, Chandelure, Registeel, Dragalge, Beware, Granbull, Cresselia, Porygon Z, and Cantonian Marowak, while my opponent this week has Scizor, Milotic, Alolan Ninetales, Jolteon, Arcanine, Reuniclus, Conkeldurr, Mega Camerupt, Swellow, Kommo-o, and Credilli. And both teams are offered 2 Z captains, which means only 2 Pokemon can use Z moves. So my 2 Z captains are Tyranitar and Porygon Z, while my opponent has Arcanine and Reuniclus. So just a few things I was worried about and what he ended up bringing. So you can see my team, and his team consists of Milotic, Arcanine, Alolan Ninetales, Jolteon, Scizor, and Mega Camerupt. I was really worried about the Reuniclus coming in and set up Trick Room, because his team is very Trick Room oriented, and they are a lot slower than mine is. So I wanted to be sure I was able to stop that Reuniclus, especially if you wanted to go for like a Z Trick Room, which, for those of you who don't know, Z Trick Room makes it so you can't be taunted that turn because this is a Z move, and also it boosts your accuracy. So if Reuniclus were to use it, its Focus Blast would be more accurate, so they'd be able to hit Tyranitar and just bop them, and that would not be good. So I did over-prepare for that, as well as the Conkeldurr, because I thought he was going to really worry about my Tyranitar. But really the only thing he brought that could do too much to it would be the Milotic and the Scizor, and the Camerupt, I guess, to an extent, but not as much as those two, because I can actually hit the Camerupt back for pretty decent damage. But yeah, he didn't bring the Conk or the Reuniclus, which were my 2 biggest worries on this team. Credilli kind of was as well, but not as much, because now Rotom has more free reign, because it hits the Camerupt super effectively, one-hit KO with Hydro Pump, hits the Scizor neutrally, can hit the Jolteon pretty hard with Hydro Pump, hits the Ninetales, Arcanine, Milotic, so Rotom Wash can be really good here. And I'm actually going to lead off with Rotom Wash, so the last 2 battles here I led with Rotom Wash because I assume my opponent thinks I'm going to lead with Tyranitar. Can't do that every week because people are going to start catching on to that, but we did it this week as well. So like I said, I'm going to lead off with the Rotom. One other thing, my capture card is dead AF. So I was streaming the other day and the capture card just kaput on me. That poor thing has been chugging along since the day before Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out. So that it's getting up there in age. And I'm surprised it lasted this long. So I have to look into either getting it replaced or getting it fixed. I'm going to try the fixing option first, obviously, because it's cheaper. But that's part of the reason why the content hasn't been running in as much as it was in the past. So I'm going to see if I can figure out something to do on the channel in the meantime. But until then, things like the PGL, somebody else has to record for me and then send over. So we're a little late on this video, especially because there's people looking at my house, so I can't just be recording while there's people coming in, touring the house. But with that being said, let's bop in here. Let's bop up in here and see how this battle turns out for us. We did lose week 1 to Poise, so it wasn't a terrible loss. It was only a -2 points to us. So if we can at least pull it back to neutral, if not more, if we win this one. So he's going to actually lead a Milotic, which is perfect for me. I am going to try and throw a Toxic at it, because I'm trying to scout out the Mirror Coat. I do, unfortunately, miss, and he goes for Ice Beam. I'm like, well, if he is only going for Ice Beam for me, probably expecting Venusaur to try and switch in, which I have no reason to switch Venusaur in against a Milotic when I have a Rotom Washout. This turn, I'm going to go for Substitute. The battle does flip out here for a second. That's the only time it messes up this whole thing, so That's the only time you have to worry about that. But I figured the Scissor would try and come in on the Toxic, so I went for Substitute this turn. Because Ice Beam can't break my Substitute in one hit. And then if the Scissor came in, I got my free sub up. So I go for the Hydro Pump here. Rotom nails that. It almost does 50% to that Scissor. And then the Scissor goes for Knockoff. Now, I don't want to take a Knockoff and lose my leftovers. So the idea here was the Volt Switch out on the Scissor. But fun fact, this Rotom doesn't have Volt Switch, it has Thunderbolt. So as soon as the battle screen came up, I just clicked the first yellow thing, and I'm like, oh, that's Thunderbolt. So, unfortunately, my terrible misplay is going to cost our Rotom its leftovers, which is it's gonna make the Rotom harder to use, since it is a substitute set. It's not completely out of the running, because we're still just above 50% here. But I do want to get my Rotom out here, because had I gone for another Hydro Pump, we could have KO'd the Scissor here, but unfortunately, with Thunderbolt and leftovers on the Scissor, not able to do that. So I'm going to switch on my Venusaur, and he's actually going to Roost this turn. So, had I gone for Hydro Pump, I think it was a roll to KO with Hydro Pump, and had we hit, could have gotten rid of Scissor there. Well, that's fine. I brought in my Venusaur, and I'm like, okay, he's going to expect Hidden Power Fire, because nobody in their right mind brings in a Venusaur on a Scissor if you don't have Hidden Power Fire. So I'm just going to Mega Evolve here, and I go for the Giga Drain, expecting the swap out. But unfortunately, he doesn't. He would have just let his Scissor take a Hidden Power Fire there, apparently. So I'm like, alright, that's how you're going to play? We're going to change up how we're playing here. So he's going to U-turn. He's got a slower U-turn. Surprise! I can't remember base speeds on these two. I think Venusaur is actually fairly fast. He's like base 80, and Scissor's not that high, so I guess that makes sense. I was a little bewildered by it during the match, but now that I think about it, I think Mega Venusaur is a little faster. Because Venusaur itself isn't terribly slow either. But the Ninetales is going to come in. This thing can't do anything to me, and I figure he's going to set up the Aurora Veil, so I could have brought in Tyranitar to stop that. But instead, I'm just going to stay in at Sludge Bomb, because once the Aurora Veil's up, the Ninetales really can't do anything because of my Thick Fat ability. So I can just start getting damage off on it, and then start trying to damage whatever wants to switch in here. So we do get the Lucky Poison on the Ninetales, which is going to drop it below 50. And then this turn, I'm going to go for the Hidden Power Fire, expecting him to try and think I'm going to use a Poison-type move again. But Mount Coronet, the Camerupt, actually comes out here, who's going to eat up this Hidden Power Fire. And this isn't a super favorable matchup for Venusaur, but it is doable. And we're going to shoot for the moon here, kids. So this first turn, I go for, I want to say Synthesis. Just because I wanted to scout out what Fire-type move he has. Venusaur does have Thick Fat, which reduces the damage of Fire-type moves. But Camerupt does have Sheer Force, which boosts the damage of any move that has a secondary ability. And most Fire-type moves have that secondary ability of Burning. And it also removes that ability. He actually goes for Rock Polish here, so I did get a pretty nice Synthesis up without losing damage. And the Rock Polish is interesting, but I don't think it's worth time on Camerupt. Because Camerupt is just so damn slow. You can see Venusaur still outspeeds it. So he might not even have any speed investment in it. If you're going to go Rock Polish Mega Camel, you got to put a lot of speed. And then Mega Camel loses a lot of bulk. So it can be useful, but you got to do it right. I don't know his spread, so I'm not saying he didn't do it right. Because Camerupt is one of the slowest Pokemon in the game, so he's pretty damn slow. So he does have Lava Plume, which is the less scary of the Fire-type moves Camerupt could have. Because it's one of the lower base powered ones. And it can't burn, which is one of Lava Plume's biggest draws to it, is it has a high chance to burn. So now, with Giga Drain not doing as much damage because of the Aurora Veil being up, I do have to go for Synthesis here. The Hail's gone, so we're going to synthesize a lot more health back than we would have if the Hail was up. So now, as long as this Camerupt doesn't crit, I can sit here and Synthesis until the Aurora Veil's gone, and then we can switch back to Giga Drain, because we'll be getting enough health back that we won't have to synthesize every turn. Plus, it'll be doing enough damage to the Camerupt that it'll be going down faster. So, as of right now, I do have to do this unfortunate Synthesis stall because it's the only way the Venusaur is going to make it through this matchup. And I really don't have switch-ins this Camerupt's Lava Plumes. I guess the Rotom could have switched in on this, but it'd just be taking unnecessary damage. Whereas Venusaur, I got the faith in Venusaur. So the Aurora Veil does disappear here. I'm going to go for the Giga Drain because we should have enough health after recovery to be able to live any Lava Plume roll, as long as it's not a crit. I think Jeebus, he has not gotten a crit yet, because that would have just ended Mega Venusaur's run there. It does bring us down to 14 HP, but another Giga Drain is going to KO this Camerupt. So Mega Venusaur winning the Mega War here, the Mega Stall War. I mean, I was the only one stalling. The Camerupt was just trying to get damage off, but unfortunately not able to do enough. Now he's going to bring out the Scissor, and at this point, I'm like, hey, I think we can pull this out. We have only taken one KO on my opponent, but if I play this right, I can get a 6-0, sorry. And even if it's not a 6-0, I want to try and keep it as high of a differential as I can. For those of you who don't know, you get points for as many Pokemon that you keep alive by the end of the match. And since we're -2, since we lost the last game, I'm going to try and get as many as I can so that we can get back in the running here, because it could end up mattering in the long run. So you want to get differential as best you can throughout the season, so you're not scrambling at the end. But we do see the Arcanine outspeeds the Chandelure. I have no speed in Chandelure, so it's not super surprising, but he does have a little speed in this Arcanine, I'm assuming. And he actually has Bulldoze, and I'm assuming it's Choice at this point. I think it's probably Choice Banded, because I am max HP, so it shouldn't have done 50%. It would have hurt, but it shouldn't have done that much. So I'm just going to fire off a Shadow Ball after my Substitute breaks. We do get a critical hit, and while critical hits are usually good, in this instance, I don't think it's the best for us, and you'll see here in a second. I'm going to bring Chandelure back out because I don't want to faint to another Bulldoze, and I figured he's Choice at this point, so I can bring in Rotom and be immune to it because of the Levitate ability. And now the Arcanine has to switch out or die. So I go for Thunderbolt here because at this range, Thunderbolt will KO, whereas if I hadn't crit, I would have went for Hydro Pump. And had I gone for Hydro Pump, we would have got a ton of damage off in the Jolteon. But instead, the Jolteon gets switched in for free. So the crit kind of worked against us in that way. I mean, obviously, it's not favorable for him because he's got a really low Arcanine now. But it did help him switch in this Jolteon, who went for a Shadow Ball, strangely enough. I'm not sure why he didn't Thunderbolt there, because it's neutral to Rotom. So it would have done more damage than the Shadow Ball would have. But I'm going to switch in my Tyranitar, because if he's going to continuously Shadow Ball, Tyranitar's going to eat that up anyway. And he does go for another Shadow Ball, which is just beautiful here. Because it does no damage, but it does get a special defense drop. So I'm like, okay, we still are pretty defensive. We can take a hit. We'll be fine with Tyranitar. And he's actually going to go for the Hidden Power here. And I'm like, don't have Hidden Power fighting, for God's sake. And it's not. It's neutral, so I have no idea what the Hidden Power is or why he went for it. He might have forgot what it was. But I get my Stealth Rocks up. Late game Rocks. That's going to make sure the Arcanine can't come back in, because it will faint to that Rocks damage. Plus we can chip anything else that wants to try and come in. So he's going to switch it back to Shadow Ball, possibly looking for more special defense drops. And the Jolteon will faint there to its own Life Orb, which I knew was going to happen this turn, so I'm going to go for the Hone Claws. It's not going to be super useful if, like, the Scissor comes in, but if for some reason he doesn't bring Scissor in, who should be able to KO from this range, then I'll be able to use it, like, against this Milotic. I know I live a Scald, so as long as it doesn't burn me, our Black Hole Eclipse, the Z move that is on this Tyranitar, will, actually, I would say it should be able to KO, but I calced the thing, and the calc said it did 30%. Of course, that was a max defense Melodic, so I don't know if this is max defense Melodic or not. Max defense, max HP. I also don't know if, like, I messed up the calc or something. Like, I might have burned the Milotic, which, of course, boosts its defense. But as you'll see here, the Black Hole will eat up the Melodic, and it will KO it. So, I have no idea what I messed up with on the calc, or I don't know his spread either was also part of that. So Scissor now comes in. I'm like, okay, now we get Tyranitar out here, because definitely at this HP, it's easy pick off for Scissor. So we want to get him out of here. I'm going to bring in Chandelure. I was risking him going for knockoff here, but I figured he'd go for Bullet Punch. He didn't want to mess around with Tyranitar anymore, not after seeing that Z move. So we're going to eat up that Bullet Punch, and we're going to outspeed the Scissor. We already saw Venusaur outspeeds it, so for sure Chandelure does. And the game is all but over at this point. So he has the Scissor, the Arcanine, which faints to Rocks, and then he has the Ninetales, who's poisoned and under 50%. Now, Scissor's just going to faint to that Flamethrower, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And we'll get a little bit of Leftovers recovery. And here I almost threw away our 6-0, which, it's not terrible, but again, it's helpful during the end of the season. So the Ninetales will come in on Stealth Rocks. It's going to take 25%, being weak to Rock-type moves. And then it'll set up the Snow Warning. I'm like, alright, I know your game, Ninetales. Ninetales carry Dark Pulse. continue to play the game as if there is a possibility of losing. I'm going to switch Chandelure out, bring in the Granbull, who's going to be able to take a Dark Pulse, or a Blizzard, or whatever he wants to do. So he does go for the Dark Pulse. So, thankfully, we save our 6-0 there. Granbull's going to get the hail damage, Ninetales will get the poison damage, and that leaves just enough health where Granbull can actually pick up a point, because this is Granbull's first game. We might as well get her a point. It is a female. Typically, I go male Granbull, just because it's usually nicknamed, but I gotta rebreed my Pokemon so I can give them nicknames, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, Ninetales is gonna faint to the Earthquake, so Granbull picks up an easy point late game, and then the Arcanine is gonna come in on the Stealth Rocks, and it will faint, because it is below 25% of HP, and there it goes. So that is gonna be the game. GG to Sketchy Smeargle. Guys, go check him out. Also, I forgot to do this at the beginning of the video. Big shout out to Kalinja. I want to just double check that. Ninja, sorry. I keep thinking it's Colin, but it's Connor, I'm assuming. Ninja, who is the coach of the Golden State Minions, who did record this for us. He was probably just trying to scout me out since he is our opponent for the next week. But nonetheless, thank you so much. Be sure to go check them out in the description as well as all of the other coaches of the PGL. Check out all the battles for Week 2, and if you missed any of the battles for Week 1, that will be there as well. And there's also a link for the Discord, so if you want to go and talk about all things PGL, the link will be in the description for that as well. Otherwise, guys, we will see you next time. I forgot to say that we are at the Minnesota Wild Charge, so like and subscribe if you have not already, and we'll see you guys next time. Stay sharp, everyone, and go Wild Charge!